Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope you're all well. So recently I made a video about my new Temple Audio pedal board to house my QC and a couple of pedals and an expression pedal so I could go out and do tours. It's more lightweight, all the rest of it. I'll link it in the description box below. In any case, I got a few comments. People wanted to hear the pedal board, of course, and asked me how it was wired up and how I would go about using it, you know, in context. So I figured I'd do a quick video on that for you guys because there's quite a lot of questions about that and I don't want to leave you guys in the dark. It's worth saying I have done videos on the routing and wiring for using Quad Cortex with my amplifiers. I will link those in the description box below, but for all those that missed it, here's another video talking about it. And I also get to show off some of the tones and stuff that I've set up in this video. So there are two ways that I use my Quad Cortex with my amplifiers. If you've got a modeler, you can probably do this exactly the same way. I take out 3 and out 4, which are 1/4-inch jack outs of Quad Cortex. So if you've got that on your modeler, then you can do that. Run them into the effects loop return of your amplifiers, and it allows you to use all the amp models and everything inside Quad Cortex, provided you don't use a cab IR block. And if you're going to split off to front of house, you want to make sure you put the split that's going to the amps without an IR block, otherwise you're going to get double cone filtering, essentially. An IR block then coming out of a cabinet, it's not going to sound great. So the way that we do that for VOWER currently is just like that. It's out 3, out 4, into the effects loop returns, gives me the option to basically use any amp model, any effect, any stomp inside Quad Cortex, and it gets amplified through the power stage of this VX Kraken and then out of a cabinet, and it allows me to have a load of fun on stage. Now the cool thing here is that this pedal board was designed so that I could actually do both wiring methods if I wanted to. So I've got 2 1/4-inch jack bays on the side here, and it allows me to have input 1, input 2 of my Quad Cortex, output 3, output 4 of the Quad Cortex on one patch bay, and then on the other patch bay I've got effects loops 1 and 2 rigged up to that patch bay. So send 1, return 1, send 2, return 2. And then I can go ahead and design a preset inside Quad Cortex that utilizes those different wiring techniques. Henceforth, this video, how I'm going to show you basically how I've wired it up so that I can have the preamps of the amplifiers running VX Kraken stereo, but I could also swap out the preamp and use something inside Quad Cortex and kind of get just the best of both worlds, really. Okay, so I'm going to show you this preset first, and this is basically a 7 cable method because I'm running stereo amps. It allows me to have the Quad Cortex and the preamps of my Krakens used all the time, and I can swap in and out whatever I want. It's really, really cool. But if you want to do this mono, you don't need 7 cables. You need your guitar into your pedal board as 1, then you need effects loop, send, return, and in the front of amps. So that's 4 cables in total. But really for the wiring specifically, minus your guitar cable, it's 3 cables. And if you're doing stereo, it's 6 because it's just doubled up. And that might sound complicated, but it's really not that bad. You want send, return, into the front of the amp, times 2 if it's stereo. So anyway, let me show you this preset. So here's the preset. Guitar comes in here, runs through all these stomps that go in front. So I've got like pitch, compressor, a bunch of different drives and delay. And then it continues onto rows 3 and 4. Now I treat 3 and 4 as 2 different amplifiers. As you can see currently, the effects loop block are essentially turned on. These effects loop blocks essentially represent the preamp of my Kraken. So when these are on, it means I'm hearing the preamp of my Kraken, so just running through the amp as per usual. They join up and they hit a delay and a reverb because anything after the effects loop block is in the loop of the amps. Anything before goes in front of the amps. And obviously you've seen the wiring diagram and I'll explain it again, but this is basically how it works. Now, when I turn these off, I'm basically running into the effects loop return of the amp minus any kind of preamp. So I've toggled it so that I can have 2 amp models here that run into the effects loop return of the amps. So I can essentially preamp swap. So I can go between my Kraken preamps and models inside here. So currently I'm running a Lone Star 50 watt and a Tweed version and a Lone Star 50 watt normal version, just to give me a nice kind of edge of breakup clean tone. So I'm using my clean channels as these amp models, running into the effects loop return, and then I can swap over to my crunch, and then I've got different iterations running here of different sort of combinations of stuff. So it's really cool. It's a really, really fun way of using modelers with an amplifier. Okay, so I've already done a video on this, linked in the description box, but for the sake of this video, here's the wiring diagram again. It's very simple once you get your head around it. Quad Cortex effects loop send goes to the front of your amplifier. Your amplifier's effects loop send goes to Quad Cortex return. Then your Quad Cortex output 3, for example, goes to the effects loop return of your amplifier. you double that up. So obviously if you've got 2 effects loops on your Quad Cortex or your modeler, and you've got 2 1/4" jack outputs on your modeler, then you would be able to do this in stereo, which is what I've done here. So I'm using both effects loops 1 and 2, and I'm using outputs 3 and 4 to be able to do this with 2 amplifiers. Sounds complicated, but hopefully the wiring diagram really helps you, and it's just a great way of doing things. I really enjoy it. So without further ado, hopefully that didn't take too long, let's crack on and get some tones so you can hear how I've got this thing rigged up. And the nice thing is with this pedal board, it's just very easy. It all plugs into the side, it's all labeled, it's good to go. Obviously this makes most sense in scene mode, so I can have my effects loop blocks scene assigned to turn on and off. But anyway, here is my clean tone. So this is the Lone Star models inside Quad Cortex. So all of that tone, all of that amp tone is coming from the models inside QC. Those are the Lone Star models. Now, when I move to my second scene that engages the effects loop block and turns off those amp models, I'm moving across to the crunch channel of my VX Krakens. So it's immensely fun because I get to hear my Krakens, which I love the sound of, but I can also just dial in anything that I want. That's a bit of compression, nothing else, just compression into the front of the Krakens. Then I could even have VOWER in front of the Krakens. Great fun. Then you've got Thunder Claw even, and Octave. So there, that's cool. Then you've got crunch channel with an overdriver in front. Those are the kind of tones that I can get when wiring it up this way. And of course, if I just want to go back and use my VOWER presets, which is very easy for me to do, obviously you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just going to my directory. So that's just a high gain ambient patch that I use for like octave chords on one of the songs for VOWER, and that just uses amp models inside QC that run to the effects at return. So the great thing about this wiring technique, if you do it this way, is that if you just want amp models inside QC and power it through the power section of the amp, you can have it that way. So I could run this wiring technique, I could utilize the front of the amps if I want, or I can just use my presets as I've dialed them in. So it really makes the whole thing as flexible as possible. So as you've seen with this pedal board build, I had the microcosm and the mood in front of Quad Cortex. So my guitar goes in, then it goes into these two pedals, then into Quad Cortex. The cool thing is obviously a true bypass and I'm not going to affect anything. But it's nice because I want them in front to really affect the signal. So I use them for like atmospheres at the minute. Probably get more use case as time goes on, but they're all hooked up with MIDI as well. So I'm sending the MIDI clock information from Quad Cortex into the microcosm, so it's always locked into tempo, which is very, very handy. In any case, I'm on a clean patch and I can go ahead and turn on the microcosm and get some nice swells. So that wraps up this video. I didn't want it to be mega long, but I wanted to reiterate the use cases for this particular pedal board and how it works with my amplifiers. And because a lot of people ask the question about how it's routed and all the rest of it, I figured that was the easiest way to show you again in context using the amps. So the whole thing, all the IOs are taken up now, which is really nice. I've got a second input for Quad Cortex should I need it for whatever reason. And then I'm using both effects loops 1 and 2, and I'm using outputs 3 and 4 and XLR out to front of house. So everything is being taken up and it's all linked up to these patch bays on the side, which is mega handy. It's so easy to just plug everything in and get it going. And above all else, the board's lightweight, it's low profile, it's great. So I'm really, really happy. It's probably worth saying as well as a last note, when I made those cables last time in the other video, if you watched that, and I said I'm not going to test them, I'm sure they'll work, none of them worked. So I had to make new cables. But in any case, it's all working, it sounds great. I hope you can agree that it sounds awesome. I'm really, really happy with this pedal board. Thanks again to Cass and the guys at Temple for helping me spec this thing out, and to Max for helping with the build. And yeah, hopefully you can see just how useful it is to run this rig this way. So it's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it, please try it. Links below for all the other videos that I mentioned in this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe and share. Any comments in the comment section below. I've been Rabea and I'll see you all very soon.